Hi, I'm Gary Knoll. I'd like to welcome you to our Classroom on the Air, where we take on a lot of different topics, all with the intent of allowing us to know better about how we can live a longer, healthier, and happier life. Today, I'm going to take you into the body. I'm going to talk about applied kinesiology. Applied kinesiology is a complementary and alternative medical technique that was developed by a chiropractor physician, Dr. George Goodhart, in the 1960s, after he observed that muscles correspond to specific organs and weak muscles indicate organ weakness. Applied kinesiology is largely a diagnostic system, and it uses manual muscle testing to identify various organ dysfunctions in the body. The technique does not necessarily replace conventional forms of testing, and frequently I like to do both. In other words, have a kinesiological test and then confirm that with a regular standardized medical test. And almost always in the hands of the right physicians, it works. And it's something you can learn to do for yourself. In any case, always use both, all right? For example, if you need blood tests or you need MRIs, do so. It's particularly valuable when a patient has symptoms of a problem that are not explained by medical tests. Meaning, doctor says, I can't see things wrong, and yet there's something wrong. Applied kinesiology can be used to treat problems in a very early stage or to treat problems that conventional methods often fail to find, like chronic fatigue syndrome or environmental illnesses due to exposure to electromagnetic pulses like your cell phone, your computer, all these 5G appliances, the smart meters, the smart technology, is also very polluting. Its fundamental principles are based upon the concept that the body is a dynamic system of integrated parts, and that imbalances in one area can affect the entire system. Muscle testing, that's what it is, muscle testing is used as a biofeedback tool to identify these imbalances and to guide treatment. Muscles are connected to the nervous system, and when the body is under stress or imbalance, this affects muscle strength. During muscle testing, the practitioner applies pressure to a specific muscle while the patient resists the pressure. If the muscle is strong, it is considered an indication that the corresponding body part or system is balanced and healthy, and that's good. However, what happens if the muscle is weak? It is believed to indicate an underlying imbalance or dysfunction. The practitioner can also evaluate the structural integrity of the body, the function of internal organs, and emotional or psychological imbalances. The testing can be done in various positions, such as standing, sitting, or lying down, to assess how the body responds to different stresses and movements. And based upon the results of muscle testing, applied kinesiology therapists may recommend a range of interventions, including manual adjustments like chiropractic, nutritional supplements, exercise, or lifestyle changes, or even some form of emotional readjustment in order to restore balance and promote healing. One early study in 1997 found that applied kinesiology was effective in reducing chronic low back pain in patients. One early study in 1997 found that applied kinesiology was effective in reducing chronic low back pain in patients. It has also been shown effective in improving range of motion in patients with frozen shoulder, to reduce chronic tension headaches, and to improve knee osteoarthritis. One study suggests that kinesiological muscle testing can be used successfully in identifying imbalances associated with serum immunoglobulin levels indicating food allergies. Besides manual muscle testing of organ weakness, the applied kinesiologist may place certain foods and vitamins and minerals and herbs or homeopathic formulas under a person's tongue and test for muscle strength. If you become weak right after that, it means you shouldn't be taking that. You may have an allergic reaction to it, and it really works. So again, on the other side, an immediate improvement indicates the remedy will help correct the personal condition. Conversely, sustained weakness indicates that a remedy will not work. Applied kinesiology can also be used to test the effects of other non-invasive modalities, including acupuncture, biofeedback, and chiropractic adjustment. It should be noted that there has been very little robust clinical research conducted into applied kinesiology, especially for improving psychological wellness. Also, the studies that have been published have very small sample sizes. Nevertheless, kinesiology practitioners swear for its effectiveness. In more recent years, kinesiology therapists incorporate other modalities such as cognitive behavior therapy and mindfulness meditation into the protocols, which have been shown to be highly effective in improving psychological well-being. Two of my friends, Dr. Donald Mullen, actually a third friend, Dr. Lane Kahn, use kinesiology in a way I'd never seen before, and I don't believe it had ever been used before. And one of my closest life friends, Dr. Martin Feldman, very conservative practitioner. In fact, he came to me back in the early 1970s, 1971, and I saw him at my lectures, sitting quietly in the back, tall guy, thin, kind of geeky looking. And then one day he comes up to me after a lecture and he says, I'm a physician. I'm board certified in psychiatry and neurology. I'm an associate professor at Mount Sinai. I've published about 66 articles in the peer-reviewed literature, but I see there's limitation in my training, in my knowledge. And I'm seeing you come up with some results, including for my own patients, and I don't know how it's done. Could I learn? I said, sure. So he came over every day, I mean, literally every day, and he would sit quietly on a couch, and I would ask the person in front of me, do you mind if Dr. Feldman sits in? No one ever complained. And then I would go through how I work with a person. I never start with the symptoms, never talk about it. I always talk about what's wrong in your life at the emotional level, because frequently what's wrong at the emotional level will manifest in physical symptoms and high blood pressure, diabetes, etc. Our emotional state frequently provides us with a choice that is not in our best interest, especially if we're also impulsive. But at the end, when people corrected their perceptions, they corrected their reality, and we had good outcomes. And he saw this. And after a year, he said, I've seen enough. I know what to do. And for the rest of his life, he wouldn't charge a patient if he couldn't help them. And he didn't offer anything that was medical. For that, he would send them out to other specialists. But he helped thousands upon thousands of patients regain health. And he always used kinesiology. For example, he would take your thumb and forefinger and say, now hold that together as tight as you can. So he'd try to open up these two. Couldn't. Strong. Then he would simply take a food, and he would put a drop of a food, not the actual food, but he had all these tinctures, like 150 bottles. And then he would put a drop under your tongue, and it stayed strong. Good, you're not allergic to that. Or boom, it popped open like that, just with the slightest. And he would say, then let's make a note of that. He would then have you hold out your arm. You would try to push your arm down. You'd hold strong. Do the same thing. And by those two techniques, he could determine what should go in your body. He did the same thing with nutrients, whether you should have an herb or a vitamin, and then even at what potency. He could tell you how much vitamin C you needed to have. So he helped a lot of people. And then Elaine Kahn, PhD from Columbia in psychology, and Dr. Donald Mullen, who was with the very prestigious Albert Ellis Center in Manhattan. They both used kinesiology. Now, they were friends of mine and personal friends, and by that, they became friends with Marty. And so they started thinking, well, maybe this will work on psychological conditions, and it did, especially when people were blocking what they needed to get out and express and see and understand. And so they did the same thing. They would have the finger, they'd ask a question like, do you have resentment about something you didn't speak up about? No. Boom. Goes up. Yeah, you did. Just might have been an earlier age. And by that, they could hone in on the real problems, but instead of spending years, 2 or 3 times a week at $150 a session, helping people try to find where their problems at the psychological level were. And it was very accurate. And they had very high success rates. Just want to share that with you because you may not have heard the therapy, but in the hands of a good kinesiologist, it can make a big difference. That's it for today's Classroom on the Air. I have a lot more coming at you on ways that we can understand different therapies that have been around a long time. We just probably not aware of them. Have a nice day and go to PRN.Live, PRN.Live, noon to 1, Monday to Friday, to listen to my program. Have a nice day.
Are you tired of closed-minded programming? Well, look no further than PRN.Live, the home for progressive voices.